2, 1.
Good Monday morning. The crew is back.
We are back and better than ever. Welcome to KSAT News Now. Thanks for starting your work week with us. Why does that make you laugh?
Well, because you said better than ever.
Yeah, hey, feeling good on a Monday.
Happy belated birthday
Easter.
to RJ.
Oh, thank
That's
you very
why
much.
he's saying better than ever.
Yes, always, yeah, feeling good, yeah.
How was
it was
your
a good weekend.
How was your birthday and Easter weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously Friday, so it was around Easter, so didn't do too much stuff big, but I do have some family coming into town this week, so yeah, gonna do maybe a belated.
So the birthday celebration continues?
Yes, all month, yeah.
Okay,
for sure.
I was gonna ask you that. Do you do just day, week, month?
I usually just keep it, one day.
I do like
good for me.
astrological season.
Was it the Chinese
Gemini
calendar
season.
or something?
Gemini season for me. Well, good. Happy birthday.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone who reached out also to wish me a happy birthday as well. It was very, very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Well, we have a lot of stories to get to today.
Yeah.
Weather, of course, your top stories, including problems at the Texas-Mexico border continuing, and they're going to have a major impact on your wallet, and we'll explain a little bit about that in just a bit. But also, cereal lovers, are you big into cereal?
I love cereal, yes. This hurts me, this story right here, but we'll get to the bottom of it. So yeah, these cereal fans here of this particular one not feeling too lucky after they reported getting sick from eating this cereal.
Wink.
Yeah, wink, wink.
And Spurs, even though they didn't make it into the playoffs.
Spurs are not in the playoffs. Players started over the weekend, but one Spurs player could take home a big-time honor this postseason. So really, really good to see this one player. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit as well.
Good for him.
Yeah.
So it was a very violent weekend just for the nation. You know, while families gathered and celebrated over the Easter weekend, the nation was truly rocked by 3 mass shootings that came just days after the Brooklyn subway shooting.
This latest shooting happened at a nightclub in South Carolina, about 90 miles west of Charleston. That shooting left 9 people injured.
And then there's another one in Pittsburgh. A party at an Airbnb left 2 teenagers dead. The 2 victims are Jaden Brown and Matthew Steffi Ross. Both are 17 years old. 8 others were injured in the shooting, and according to local police, there were multiple shooters involved at this party, and hundreds were at this Airbnb party. The majority of them are said to be underage, and that's according to authorities there.
So these 2 shootings came just a day after bullets went flying at a busy mall in Columbia, South Carolina. 9 people were shot. However, none have life-threatening injuries. Police say this shooting was not random, but rather the gunmen knew each other.
Only one person has been arrested in Saturday's shooting. That's 22-year-old Joanne Price. Price told his lawyer he fired the gun in self-defense. Again, that was at the mall shooting. On Twitter yesterday, Columbia police said a judge did agree to let Price leave jail on a $25,000 surety bond. He is on house arrest with an ankle monitor and will be allowed to go to work during certain hours of the day. So again, we talk about just the amount of violence. One of the police officers, police chiefs in one of those cities mentioned that this is really due to the illegal just the amount of illegal guns on the streets. So this just rocking families.
Right,
I mean, at a mall, at an Airbnb,
and
just
especially
public places.
And then you mentioned the amount of underage people that were at that one party in particular, and it's always and then even if sometimes that the gunmen know each other, in many instances maybe there were previous altercations that are kind of leading up to this. I mean, it's always so sad to see people get caught in this crossfire, especially when we're talking about underage people and teens, and basically just people at a mall as well. So again, just a sad situation always, all the way around.
So even here in San Antonio, Chief William McManus had said that, you know, perhaps these shootings are more common because people feel more comfortable pulling the trigger, are more irritable, which is just sad to see. And again, just these mass shootings, it's always when it's more than 4 people who have been shot. And, you know, we're still trying to recover and, you know, put the pieces together and listen to the updates with the Brooklyn shooting, and then now have these 3 other ones. So.
And before that, there was also the one in Sacramento as well. So it feels like we've had a very, very violent couple of weeks here when it comes to mass shootings.
And then there's violence, of course, across the world to the war in Ukraine, where Russian airstrikes this morning killed at least 7 people and injured nearly a dozen more, including a child.
Ukrainian officials reported at least 4 missile strikes in the western city city of Lviv. The deaths were the first to be reported in that city since Russia's assault on Ukraine started in late February.
And heavy fighting continues throughout the country. Both Ukraine and Russian defense officials reported widespread military action over the past 24 hours in the eastern part of the country. Ukraine reporting forces have used mortars, artillery, and multiple rocket launchers.
And to the southeast, officials in Mariupol have rejected a Russian deadline to surrender as attacks continue at a steel plant there. Russian forces announced the city would be closed today, so no in or out. And they're also warning that men remaining in that city would be, quote, filtered out. So again, this has now been almost 6 weeks, 7 weeks, getting close to 2 months here that we've seen this, and it just continues to get worse over there as these cities are just under constant bombardment, constant siege, and it's just you think about just the lives that have been taken here, but Ukrainians still standing strong, still trying to fight for their country. But it does not seem to be coming to an end anytime soon.
No, and that's why you have so many, of course, that have already fled their country, the country that they know, love, and are so proud of. And even here in the newsroom, we've been trying to track, because we are aware that some of the refugees have made it to the Tijuana border. So we're waiting to see if maybe that's going to be the case here along the Texas-Mexico border.
And as we said, there are a lot of people still staying back, a lot of brothers, men, women, everyone staying back in order to fight this war as those attacks continue.
All right, RJ, so last week we had a huge focus on the border along.
You were down there.
Yep, it was a long week.
Yeah.
A
Did
lot
a great
to
job
keep up with
reporting
them.
on everything going on there.
Thank you. Team effort there with photographer Sal Salazar. So back up at the border for commercial vehicles meant late deliveries. We saw spoiled produce and, of course, just money down the drain for importers. But for consumers, this means just higher prices on your next visit to the grocery store. And it's likely not going to come down anytime soon. And this is although the governor of Tamaulipas did come to an agreement with Governor Greg Abbott here in Texas.
Yeah, and this comes after truckers shut down the northbound commercial lanes at some of Texas's biggest ports of entry in protest of the state's inspection under the direction of Governor Greg Abbott.
All right, so if we back up a little bit there, the whole thing is because of Title 42. Governor Greg Abbott does not want that to end. President Biden is saying that it's going to end sometime in May. So what Governor Greg Abbott has done is mandated these inspections for all vehicles. So what this means for the consumer, demand is up, but supply is down, or it's slowly catching up at this point. And importers are still having to pay rent, and some will have to pay thousands of dollars in late fees to supermarkets. Of course, those are their biggest clients. So prices are going to go up. They already have gone up. We spoke to an association, Texas Produce International Association, and they say already.
It's when you really kind of boil it down and think of everything that comes across the board. I mean, we're talking some of the most popular fruits and vegetables and items of that nature, but it's not just produce as well. It's car parts, electronics, types of medical equipment, other goods that make their way across the border every day. And you think about just one day of a delay there and how it sort of stifles the production chain. I mean, just imagine it, days on end, as you saw when you were down there. What was kind of your general assessment of everything?
Well, first of all, with one of the interviews that we did, he spoke about who goes to the border daily, not just once a month, once every few weeks, daily to pick up produce in this case. And he named big brands like Costco, Kroger, Albertsons. I mean, these big supermarket chains making it down there. So, of course, it will affect our pockets. But overall, there were two sides of everything. The drivers, they tried to keep good spirits. I mean, they were waiting there, some of them for 10 hours. And keep in mind, they're having to figure out how to, with diesel, right? Because these 18-wheelers, that's what they run on. But also using a restroom. Being fed, how are they going to do that? I mean, I asked them, what's the longest you've ever stood in line for at the border when trying to cross into the U.S.? And they said, on a really bad day, it's usually 5 hours. They were up to 14 hours.
Yeah. And I mean, this is their livelihood too. I mean,
they get paid by the load.
Yeah, they're trying to feed their families, obviously, and try and make a living here. And when you mention all the other costs, I mean, just like you said, imagine just waiting in line, having to spend all that fuel and time. I mean, it's really been kind of a backlog of a lot of things, and it's affecting a lot of people in a lot of ways.
So then we went to a produce market. And this is where those truckers deliver the produce, and that's where the importers have their spaces, right? So we spoke to one of them, and we'll actually be sharing more on that story today at 5 and 6. He said he was down to a week's worth of product when really these bodegas are just filled. And there was practically nothing.
A lot going on there.
Yeah.
So again, great job covering it, you and South
developing.
Salazar. As we continue to follow the latest down there at the Texas-Mexico border. And speaking of people probably going to grocery stores, here's a story, interesting. Frosted Lucky Charms, their main line, right, is that they're magically delicious, but apparently...
I thought you were going to sing it. Magically delicious.
They're magically delicious. Okay. But apparently they've been making some people very sick, and the FDA is taking a closer look, but a recall has not been issued. So that's important.
Yeah, so I guess at this point, just be very careful if you're going to purchase these and monitor what happens after. So yeah, Lucky Charms is one of the top brands for General Mills, and they say that they are working with the FDA after more than 100 consumers say they've experienced nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea after eating Lucky Charms.
Yeah, Patrick Quaid, the founder of the consumer website iwaspoisoned.com, I had not heard about this site, said that so far this year, his site has received nearly 2,500 reports from people around the country who said that they got sick soon after eating Lucky Charms.
Yeah, however, General Mills said they launched an internal investigation but found no evidence of illness linked to the consumption of Lucky Charms. So is it really the Lucky Charms? I mean, you're talking, you have those numbers from the FDA, 100 more than 100 consumers. So what is it going to be? Anyways, the FDA is looking into this. Again, General Mills is saying, nope, not our cereal.
Yeah, they're staying. Yeah, they're staying pretty firm and saying that no, that they've done investigations and nothing's happened. And I was reading this a little bit earlier that apparently foodborne illness sort of outbreaks like this are rare with cereals because they're baked. So a lot of those not saying chemicals, but a lot of that stuff tends to go out when it comes to foodborne illnesses, bacteria. But they did say that in the process of probably packaging them, maybe.
And the glazing.
Maybe, yes.
The glazing
there could be a case there where you could get some people sick.
The magical frosting.
Yes. The magical frosting.
Just be careful.
Magically
if you decide
delicious.
To eat them.
Be careful. Yeah. Okay, Alicia. So the Spurs season sadly over. The playoffs started this weekend. Yeah, I know. Boos. Playoffs started. It was missing our silver and black, but this is pretty cool here. Dejounte Murray could be getting some postseason love.
All right. So Dejounte is also known as DJ5.
DJ5. There you go.
He's a finalist for this year's Most Improved Player Award. Oh my gosh. Murray just wrapped up his 6th season in San Antonio and led the team this year in points per game, assists, and steals.
Yeah, had a great year. He was also named to the NBA All-Star team for the first time in his career, and he's up against 2 other All-Stars for the award, Memphis guard Ja Morant and Cleveland guard Darius Garland. So real quick, I don't think it's fair that Ja Morant is in this because he's an MVP candidate. I think that hurts DeJounte's chance of winning. I don't think that was fair, but anyways.
I'm going to leave this conversation to you and Sarah Spivey.
Well, before we move on, TNT is actually going to announce this during the coverage of their 2022 playoffs, which continues obviously throughout the rest of this month and through May. So good stuff for Dejounte. You know, I always think about him when he came in. The Spurs were still the juggernaut team that they were. So this is 6th season San Antonio. They still had Kawhi Leonard, still had Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and he was just a baby when he came in. He's 25 years old now.
That's what I just Googled. Yeah. How old is he? He was born in 96. He's a baby.
Yeah, but he's done already a great job for this Spurs organization trying to rebuild it and get us back to being a title contender.
And you know, the Spurs have great attitude no matter what, but I think he's such a morale booster too for the guys. So like, come on.
Give it to him.
It would be awesome if he could get it.
Yeah, he had a great year. Unbelievable year for Dejounte.
Really did.
Congrats,
he really
man.
did.
Yeah.
Guys, okay, did you hear thunder yesterday at all? Or did you see the gray clouds moving on in?
So I was on my way back from Dallas, and I kept, I had y'all's, I always have the Twitter notifications for weather, and I had seen it since early this morning, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope that I don't run into any of this. Thankfully, it wasn't even around me, but so I didn't. Did you?
I saw them. I did, and for a moment there, especially in the early part of the evening, I was like, okay, I want to go outside, but then these storms are going to come through. Actually, did not manage to get any storms. I was out in the far northwest side. So
and what's interesting about the far northwest side is there was a storm that was heading right for that area. fell apart.
That's one
Right
of those
before it
Caligan,
even-
right? Yeah.
But I mean, this is what we were forecasting, right? We were forecasting isolated storms and showers and storms on Sunday. And I want to show you just how close we were to see some very large hail yesterday. So unfortunately, our western counties out near Hondo saw tennis ball sized hail, just 20 to 30 miles to the west, west of San Antonio. And so again, we were very close to seeing large hail. This is what we meant by isolated storms possible. And meteorologist Justin Horn actually intercepted the storm there and saw some quarter-sized hail out near Hondo. So that's what we mean by isolated storms. It's unfortunate for San Antonio because our rainfall total from that event, goose egg, 0, nada. So we did not see anything from that those showers and storms, whereas Bandera, Hondo did receive anywhere from ½ inch to an inch of much needed rainfall. And the unfortunate scenario for us is that we are not forecasting any healthy rain over the next 7 days, 7 to 10 days for that matter. We are in the middle of drought, but there are going to be some subtle changes to the weather today that are actually going to make it feel very nice outside. So firstly, we're dealing with a northeast wind at about 15 miles per hour. It is windy out there, and these winds are bringing in some drier air. So dew points, which are in the 50s right now, are going to fall into the 40s this afternoon, and so it's going to feel really nice and pleasant outside. Temperatures are going to warm up into the 80s, but it'll be a dry heat. We aren't going to have that high humidity. So let me take you through the KSAT 12-hour forecast. Into this afternoon, we're going to see temperatures rise to the low 80s. So if you're heading out for lunch this afternoon, it's going to feel really pleasant. You might even want to have your lunch outdoors, although you're going to have to deal with a northeast wind at about 15 miles per hour. Then looking ahead to the later part of the afternoon, we'll hit our high temperature of about 84 degrees. And as we see the sun set close to 8, it's going to be really pleasant outside this evening. Temperatures are going to fall into the 70s with low humidity. And in fact, temperatures are going to fall so quickly that early tomorrow morning, we're going to be in the 50s. You might need that jacket early tomorrow morning. Small chance for an isolated shower tomorrow during the second part of the day. But again, the key thing here is we do not have any widespread chances for rain in the forecast over the next several days. By the end of the week, we'll be closer to 90 degrees and that humidity will be back. So guys, I was talking to Justin about this. We hope May is a better month for us rain-wise. And you know, May oftentimes we do get some good rain events, sometimes a little too good of rain events, you know, the Memorial Day floods, those kinds of things. But we could desperately use some rain, so I'm hoping May is better to us than this month has been.
Absolutely, because we've just seen the amount of devastation when it comes to the fires, right?
Yes.
I think that really just opens our eyes and makes us aware, okay, this is really serious. These water restrictions, there are for a reason. You know, just everything, just the trickle effect.
Yeah.
Exactly, and there's cracks in the soil, which we usually see in summer. We're already seeing those cracks in the soil now.
And you guys did a great job, obviously, yesterday following these storms as people were out and about getting the latest information, especially on an Easter Sunday where people are like, okay, well, you need to figure out what we're going to do here. So great job by you guys getting out Storm Chaser and following
Our
the latest
digital
weather.
audience is important to us, to say the least. You're watching KSAT News Now, and meteorologist Katie Blake was doing an app cast on the phone for an hour for those folks out to the west. So kudos to her.
Yeah, good stuff from you guys. Good stuff. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here, but before we leave, I wanted to give a special shout out to my grandfather. Today's his birthday, and he is 93 years young.
Oh my gosh,
his name
that's
is
a
Gilberto
secret, sir.
Perez. Yes.
Señor Pérez, dígame
His
el
name is
secreto.
Gilberto Perez, yes, my abuelo. And so this is kind of an interesting story. About a week and a half ago, I get on Facebook and I see this notification where it's like, you have someone that wants to add you as a friend. It's my grandpa. And I was like, what is going on here? This is really strange.
Oh my gosh, that's 93?
93. So
And on Facebook.
so my mom told me that he wanted to watch our show. So he specifically wanted her to create a profile for him so he watches us every day. So
I love that.
happy birthday, Grandpa. Yes, Gilberto
That's so
Perez
awesome.
out there in El Paso, Texas. So yeah.
Feliz
it's been
cumpleaños.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so
definitely.
much.
That's so
And he
awesome.
watches every day. So yeah, really.
And see, that's
really
why I
cool.
love all the newscasts, right? But KSAT News Now, because same, I have some family in Mexico who occasionally will tune in. And, you know, you don't have to be here in San Antonio to do so. And of course, we have the podcast. We got it all. Got you covered.
Yeah, we got you all covered, all bases every day. Yeah.
Well, again, happy birthday to your grandfather, to
Thank
your
you, thank
abuelito,
you.
que cumpla muchos más.
For sure, definitely, yes. And thank you very much for being with us, guys. We will see you tomorrow right here at 11 a.m. Have a good day.